Mount Tambora is a large volcano. It is located on the island of Sumbawa. This island is part of Indonesia, a country in Southeast Asia. In the year 1815, Mount Tambora erupted with incredible force. The most powerful part of this eruption occurred on April 10th. This was not an ordinary volcanic event. Scientists now understand that it was the largest and most violent volcanic explosion on Earth in the last 10,000 years. The world had not experienced such devastating natural power for a very, very long time. People living then were completely unprepared for the immense scale of the disaster and its deadly consequences. This single event would go on to dramatically change the world in many ways. Scientists use a special scale to measure the size of volcanic eruptions. This scale is called the Volcanic Explosivity Index, or VEI. The eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815 registered a VEI of 7. A VEI of 7 is an extremely high number, indicating a supercolossal event. To better understand its immense power, we can compare it to other famous eruptions. Tambora was approximately 100 times stronger than the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens in the United States. It was also about 4 times more powerful than the well-known Krakatoa eruption of 1883. Tambora ejected an enormous quantity of volcanic material high into the atmosphere. This material included around 2 million tons of rocks, dust, and volcanic ash. It also released an estimated 100 megatons of sulfurous gases. The immediate effects of the eruption in the areas surrounding Mount Tambora were truly terrifying. A thick blanket of volcanic ash plunged Southeast Asia into complete darkness for an entire week. Imagine trying to live without any sunlight for 7 whole days. The sound of the explosions was deafening. These cataclysmic sounds were reportedly heard up to 970 miles away from the volcano. This distance is similar to hearing an explosion in Paris from the city of Berlin. The eruption also generated extremely violent whirlwinds. These powerful winds were strong enough to uproot large trees and destroy buildings. Rivers of scorching hot molten lava flowed rapidly down the sides of the volcano, incinerating everything in their destructive path. The human cost of Tambora's eruption in Indonesia was catastrophic and heartbreaking. Many thousands of people lived in villages on the slopes of the volcano and nearby. In the province of Tambora, which was very close to the volcano, almost the entire population perished. Out of an estimated 12,000 inhabitants in that area, only about 26 people are thought to have survived the initial blast and its immediate aftermath. The eruption itself, along with the direct consequences like pyroclastic flows and tsunamis, killed many more across the region. In total, it is estimated that approximately 80,000 people in Indonesia lost their lives very quickly. They died from the force of the blast, the falling ash, the burning lava, or the devastating tsunamis. Entire communities were wiped out by this sudden and brutally powerful natural disaster. Mount Tambora's massive eruption did not only affect the island of Sumbawa or Indonesia, its consequences were felt across the entire globe. The volcano blasted enormous quantities of sulfur compounds like sulfur dioxide very high into the Earth's atmosphere. These gases reached the stratosphere, which is a very high layer of our atmosphere, far above the clouds. Once in the stratosphere, these sulfur gases reacted with water vapor. This chemical reaction created a vast thin cloud or veil of tiny sulfuric acid droplets. This stratospheric veil gradually spread all around the planet. It acted somewhat like a giant sunshade, reflecting some of the sun's light and heat back into space. This significantly reduced the amount of solar radiation reaching the Earth's surface. This significant reduction in incoming sunlight led to a noticeable and dramatic drop in average global temperatures. The cooling effect was particularly pronounced and became most famous in the year following the eruption, 1816. That year earned the chilling nickname, the year without a summer. This descriptive name was especially common in parts of Europe and North America. These regions experienced weather that was unusually and persistently cold for the summer season. People in these areas were accustomed to warm summer months, which were essential for growing their crops. However, the summer of 1816 was drastically different and deeply alarming for everyone. The cold was widespread and lasted for months, causing immense hardship for countless communities. It felt like summer never truly arrived. The weather conditions during the year without a summer were exceptionally strange and harsh. Instead of the usual warm sunshine and gentle breezes, many areas experienced almost continuous heavy rainfall. Destructive storms became much more frequent than normal. Unseasonal frosts occurred even in the middle of what should have been warm summer months, often killing young vulnerable plants in the fields. Rivers swelled with the excess rain and melted snow, leading to widespread flooding that washed away homes, farmland, and vital infrastructure. In some places across Europe and North America, people were shocked to see snow falling in June and July. The sky itself often appeared dim, hazy, or strangely colored because of the volcanic ash and sulfur aerosols still lingering high in the atmosphere. This made the days dark and gloomy, adding to the general sense of despair. These extreme and unseasonal weather conditions caused terrible agricultural devastation across the globe. Crops failed on a massive scale in many parts of Europe, North America, and even in some regions of Asia. Without successful harvests, food quickly became scarce, and the prices of whatever food was available soared. This led to widespread hunger and, in severe cases, starvation. People grew increasingly desperate to find anything to eat to survive. There are historical reports that some farmers resorted to eating grass from the fields. Others were forced to cook and eat mice, rats, or whatever small animals they could catch. The food crisis triggered by Tambora's climatic impact did not simply end in 1816. It continued into 1817 because the global weather patterns took a long time to return to normal, only really stabilizing in 1818. During this very strange and cold summer of 1816, a young English woman named Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin was on what she hoped would be a pleasant holiday. She was only 18 years old at that particular time. She would later become internationally famous under her married name, Mary Shelley. Mary was visiting Switzerland, accompanied by her romantic partner and future husband, the poet Percy Bysshe Shelley. They were staying in a house near the shores of beautiful Lake Geneva. They were not alone. They were part of a small group that included the renowned and controversial poet Lord Byron. John Polidori, who was Lord Byron's personal physician, was also present with them. They had all anticipated a delightful summer vacation filled with sunshine and scenic views by the picturesque lake. However, their planned summer holiday turned out to be very different from what they had envisioned. The weather in Geneva, Switzerland during the summer of 1816 was exceptionally dreadful. This terrible weather was a direct and unfortunate consequence of Mount Tambora's distant eruption the previous year. There was almost constant, dreary rain. The skies above Lake Geneva were frequently dark and heavily overcast. It was also unusually cold for that time of year, feeling more like late autumn than summer. This relentlessly gloomy and oppressive weather kept Mary Shelley and her companions confined indoors for most of their stay. They were unable to enjoy the beautiful natural surroundings or the outdoor activities they had eagerly looked forward to. Instead, they spent many long, monotonous evenings inside Villa Diodati, the house Lord Byron had rented. To try and pass the many dreary, rain-filled evenings, Lord Byron made an interesting suggestion. He proposed that each member of their small group should try to write a ghost story. Everyone present thought this was a good idea and agreed to take up the challenge. They were hoping for some stimulating amusement to help them escape the boredom and confinement caused by being trapped inside day after day. At first, Mary Godwin struggled to come up with a suitable idea for her story. Other members of the group, like Lord Byron and Dr. John Polidori, quickly began to write their own chilling tales. For instance, Polidori started working on a story that would later be developed and published as The Vampire, a significant early work in vampire fiction. But Mary wanted her story to be truly frightening and profoundly original. Then, one night, after listening to discussions about galvanism and the possibility of reanimating corpses, the core idea for Frankenstein suddenly came to Mary. She later described this pivotal moment as a waking dream or a vivid, terrifying vision. In her mind's eye, she saw a pale student of unhallowed arts kneeling beside the monstrous thing he had managed to put together. She saw the hideous phantasm of a man stretched out. Then, by the working of some powerful, mysterious engine, this creature showed terrifying signs of life and stirred with an uneasy, half-vital motion. This frightening and compelling image was the seed that grew into her famous novel. Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, was eventually completed and published in 1818. The relentlessly gloomy, oppressive atmosphere of that Tambora-induced year without a summer is widely considered to be a crucial source of inspiration for her dark and enduring masterpiece. The far-reaching impact of Mount Tambora's 1815 eruption extended well beyond the immediate weather changes and agricultural failures. It also contributed to other major societal problems and upheavals around the world. For instance, a new and particularly deadly epidemic of cholera emerged in Bengal, India, in the 1820s. Some scientists and historians have suggested a link between this cholera outbreak and the widespread environmental changes and famine conditions caused by Tambora's atmospheric effects. In the United States of America, the persistent poor weather and repeated failed harvests forced many families to abandon their homes and move in search of better conditions. A notable example is the family of Joseph Smith, who later founded the Latter-day Saint movement. They left Vermont and relocated to Palmyra, New York, due to these hardships. Millions suffered globally. In Europe alone, it is estimated that between 100,000 and 200,000 people died due to the severe food shortages and related diseases that followed the climate disruption. Many literary critics and readers see a powerful and compelling metaphorical link between the cataclysmic eruption of Mount Tambora and the creation of Frankenstein's monster in Mary Shelley's novel. The volcano unleashed an immense, terrifying, and uncontrollable destructive force upon the entire world. In a similar way, the fictional scientist Victor Frankenstein, in his ambitious pursuit of knowledge, creates a living being that he cannot subsequently control. His creation, the monster, ultimately brings chaos, suffering, and destruction to Victor and those around him, much like Tambora did on a global scale. The monster itself can also be interpreted as a potent symbol. It can represent the many displaced, alienated, and suffering people of that turbulent era. These were individuals who became refugees due to famine, war, or other disasters. The novel profoundly explores the dire consequences of unchecked ambition and the responsibilities that come with creation. The strange and dramatic atmospheric effects caused by Tambora's lingering ash and aerosols even influenced the art of the period. The German Romantic landscape painter Caspar David Friedrich created several notable works in 1816 and the years immediately following. His paintings often depict the vivid, unusual, and sometimes tumultuous skyscapes that were characteristic of the post-Tambora world, with striking sunsets and eerie light. Much later, advances in science provided more concrete proof of Tambora's global impact. In the 1970s, scientists began to use ice core technology. By drilling deep into ancient ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica and analyzing the layers, they found a distinct global sulfate signal for the year 1816. This discovery confirmed the massive scale of the volcanic event. Modern climate science, using sophisticated computer simulations, can also help us understand. These models reconstruct how Tambora's 100 megatons of ejected gases likely affected the global climate system. Mount Tambora's colossal eruption in 1815 has left a lasting and significant legacy. It is remembered as one of the most catastrophic natural disasters in recorded human history. Scientists continue to study this event intensely to better understand the potential impacts of large volcanic eruptions on climate and society. The volcano itself, on the island of Sumbawa, is still active today, a reminder of the powerful geological forces beneath our feet, occasionally rumbling and releasing steam. Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein also possesses an incredibly enduring legacy. It is far more than just a simple ghost story written to pass the time. It is now widely regarded as a profound and complex literary response to an unprecedented ecological catastrophe and a period of immense human suffering and social change. The novel's powerful themes of creation, ambition, alienation, responsibility, and the fear of the unknown continue to resonate deeply with readers and audiences worldwide today. They make us reflect on the powerful forces, both natural and of our own making, that can shape and sometimes threaten our world.